Yeah, killed her.
What happened? How did she die? Did you hit her?
Yeah.
Okay. How'd you hit her?
Your hand to do that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
Arm? Would she kick her? Would she hit her? What happened?
Pretty much all of it, twist her arm, kick her, hit her.
Ashley Zhao was 5 years old. And if that sentence already tells you where this story ends, you're right. But before she became a case file and a headline, she was a little girl who spent most of her short life living with her grandmother. A decision that, looking back, was the only thing keeping her safe. When Ashley returned to live with her parents, everything changed. What happened next exposes not just two people who failed her in the worst way imaginable, but an entire system that had every warning sign and did nothing. This case will make you angry. It should. And by the end, you'll understand exactly why. If you want more cases like this, make sure to subscribe.
What happened yesterday morning?
Okay, yesterday morning, we got up, we prepped JoJo for school. I took JoJo to school. I came back. When I came back, my wife was very angry at Ashley because she peed on her diaper and she pooped on her diaper. I know this doesn't sound like a big deal, but she's 5 years old and she's not potty trained, like ever attended. I'll explain that a little later. But so that got my wife angry and, said a few things like, you're this old, 5 years old, you still don't know how to go potty and pooping. And, my wife was in the room and she was outside in the living room. After she pooped and potty in a diaper, my wife knows that she has issues with potty training, so she was doing it fine, but then she took off her diaper again. So that got my wife angry. And so, you're 5 years old, you still don't know how to poop and potty. And my wife got angry and hit her head on the carpet, 2 times. And initially she was breathing. She was still breathing then. And
Did you watch? Did you see your wife do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was home at that time.
What time was this about?
Usually that's when I drop off the 9-ish. I can't say approximately because I don't look at the time. Oh, my wife is banging Ashley said on the carpet. It was 9:15. 9-ish, 9:15, I guess.
Okay. And so, right then she wasn't breathing?
No, she was breathing. She was breathing, and I was like, okay. So she's still breathing. She's okay.
Was there any blood or anything?
No, there's no blood.
Was she walking?
No, she wasn't walking. She was breathing, but she was lying down, and I thought she was going to come out of it in a little bit, So she stopped, but I didn't realize she stopped. I thought she was breathing normally now, because she was gasping, like it was. I can't really remember or recall exactly what, but it was a lot heavier than normal. So it sounded like a snore almost. So at that point she stopped. I thought, okay, so she's breathing normally now. So didn't really pay attention to it. And then a little later, I went to hold her and just to feel right. And I checked her heart. It stopped beating. So I started panicking and I tried to do CPR on her, try to breathe in her mouth and give her chest compressions. I don't exactly know how long I did that for. I know I did it for a pretty darn long time, maybe 15 minutes to half an hour, something like that. And that's when we realized she's gone. Like I tried and, I told my wife so time, maybe if I just realized it sooner, that, when she stopped breathing, that snore sound, her heart stopped bleeding. Her heart stopped breathing her heart stopped beating at that time. maybe I could have started the pressure then a little bit safer or something. I don't know. I know that I didn't start directly right after because I thought she was breathing normally then.
When she was on the floor, you thought she was breathing?
Yeah, but she wasn't doing that snoring sound anymore. I thought she was breathing normally, and I thought she was going to come out of it in like a little bit.
How long did she lay on the floor after?
After her head hitting the carpet?
Yeah.
2-3 minutes, making that sound. No, it was much longer than that. We actually took her to the bathroom because she was vomiting. We took her to the bathroom and vomited, and she vomited.
So let me get this straight. His wife is slamming his 5-year-old daughter's head into the floor, and his response is to stand there and wait? He watched Ashley gasp for air and thought she'd just come out of it. This man had 20 minutes, maybe longer, while his child was dying on that bathroom floor. And what haunts me is that Child Protective Services had been alerted to this family before. There were warning signs, reports, and still Ashley ended up back in that house. He's not describing a tragedy. He's describing choices. His choices.
So we vomited in the toilet, and then she got vomit all over, so we took her and rinsed her off in the bath, take her out. So she must have been breathing like that for about a good 5 minutes at least. At least. Because sure, like, this green stuff came out. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like greenish, like light greenish tint.
Out of her vomit?
Yeah. So we took her to the bathroom and we thought maybe get rid of that. And then she got it all over herself. So we rinsed her off, took her to the living room to dress her. And she was still breathing like that for a little while. So overall, probably 5.
Were her eyes open? Or was she responding?
Yeah, she was like you know. Overall, after she hit the carpet, she was probably breathing for another 5 to 10 minutes. You know, considering that, you know, we took her to the bathroom, had vomit on her, rinsed her off, then put clothes on her, and then let her sit there for a little while, and then I noticed that she started, you know, she was breathing irregularly again. So when I thought she was breathing regularly, and then checked her, then I realized that her heart just had stopped. Then that's when I started doing compressions. I did it for a while, and then we started panicking. We didn't know what to do. First thing that came to my mind was I'm gonna lose JoJo, and my family's gonna fall apart.
Who's JoJo?
My older daughter.
Your oldest daughter.
Yeah.
Anytime did
JoJo's in school.
you or your wife tell each other to call 911?
I told her to go pick up JoJo, and I was going to stay here and call 911.
Why would you pick JoJo up?
Huh?
Why would you pick JoJo up?
I was going to tell her to go pick JoJo up, and I was going to call 911.
Why? School wasn't over until 9, right? It wasn't early, right?
No.
Well, this is 9:15 in the morning?
Yeah.
Okay. Does she not go full?
No, she goes full day. I was going to tell my wife to go pick her up, so I was going to call 911 and tell her that you know, it was an accident, so my wife wouldn't be there.
So what happened?
You know, we talked about it, and
Talked about what?
she said that, you know, we're both afraid. We're both afraid what's going to happen if we call.
Okay.
I wanted to set her away so that, you know, I'll be there. If someone gets in trouble, it'll be me, and she'll be okay. And I kind of wish it didn't happen this way, not both of us are in really big trouble. But yeah, I wanted to send her away and, you know, call the police. But then, you know, both of us were afraid of what was going to happen. If we did, we were afraid that we're going to lose our daughter, we're going to lose our family, the restaurant, the house that we're getting, everything in our lives that's, you know, that we worked so hard for the past 6 years. It's just going to be gone.
Okay.
so that fear let us, like, it's an accident, so.
Okay, so what happened when she's lying there, she's not breathing? What happened then?
We couldn't decide what to do, and, after a while, we decided, both of us, I don't know exactly who came up with what, but, we should bring her to the restaurant so JoJo can see her. So JoJo, when you guys ask her, like, I was thinking maybe that wasn't a good idea, but I wasn't thinking clearly at the time. So, bring her to the restaurant so JoJo can see her, so that when we call, JoJo can say, oh, she was here at the restaurant and she left the back door at the restaurant instead of, at the house. She accidentally got killed.
And now we get to the plan. The restaurant. They're going to bring her body to the family restaurant so they can stage a disappearance. Make it look like Ashley wandered out the back door. That was the solution these two landed on while their daughter's body was still warm. He lists everything they were afraid of losing: the house, the business, their older daughter JoJo. You know what's not on that list? Ashley. She's already an afterthought. The cover-up began before she was even cold.
So,
Where were you gonna get her? Where were you gonna put her at the restaurant so JoJo could see her?
and, at the room that she was normally in, she sleeps in there. So, JoJo would see that she's sleeping there and can verify it, and, she's safe. So, and even if she asked her to take a polygraph, I don't know if you ask a 6-year-old to take a polygraph, but a 6-year-old wouldn't lie like that. And so we didn't want JoJo to lie, so we.
So you drove that to the store. Was there a gentleman looking on the roof?
Yes.
Your daughter, did you carry her in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They saw me.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there was 2 guys on the roof, working on a roof or something like that. And we brought her inside and we just laid her there. And we just continued our work. The plan was for JoJo to come home and see her there to verify that she's there. And then I would hide her up on top of the walk-in freezer. And then when we called the police at night, that I was going to come down here, take a polygraph. I was going to be asking so much questions. There was going to be so many people involved. If we knew that there was going to be like 100 people searching for maybe even more, I don't even know. I am so sorry.
What were your plans to do after maybe we quit looking for her? What were you going to do?
We don't really know. There was 3 things. I'd burn it, bury it, or throw it in the ocean. Those are the only 3 things that we can think of. And we know that. I think that's probably one of the reasons, that other than the fact that there's so many reasons why I told Randy what I told Randy. But one of the reasons is Randy mentioned it, and I know, without him telling me, I know is, if let's say that I went through with this and I didn't get caught, I'm going to be looking over my shoulder for I don't know how long. It's because there's a dead body there. That I have to eventually get rid of. And if you put it in the ocean, the tide's going to wash it back. If you bury it, wild animals can get at it, someone can find it. If you burn it, there's a chance that someone's going to see you because it's going to be a big flame. You're not going to do it during the day, and you're going to be doing it during the night. So when you're burning a big flame at night, someone's going to see you. We thought about all of this. And honestly, we weren't really too sure on what to do after that.
You came back to this morning.
Yes.
To light candles, a little.
Incense, yes.
What was that for?
At appearance, it was for you guys to hope that Ashley would be found, but really, I was praying that this would be resolved so that we keep our family together.
Burn it, bury it, or put it in the ocean. Those were the 3 options this man came up with for disposing of his 5-year-old daughter. And he walks through each one like he's reviewing a business proposal. Tides wash bodies back. Animals dig up graves. Fires draw attention. He thought about all of this. He did the research. And then he admits, out loud to detectives, that he knew eventually they'd get caught anyway. So what was the point? Buying time. That's all Ashley was worth to him. A problem to manage until it became someone else's.
So then, how did you get up her ladder?
Yeah.
The ladder, you carried her up?
Yes.
And put her body out there?
Yes.
The ladder. He's talking about how he physically lifted his daughter's body and placed it where police would later find her. And notice what he's doing here. He's answering mechanical questions. How did you carry her? Where did you put her? He'll walk through every logistical detail, because logistics don't require him to explain why his wife beat a 5-year-old to death in the first place. That's the trick. Keep the conversation on the how. Never let it land on the why. Because the why is that Sheena had done this before, and he watched it happen every single time.
You call this like a portal 8, or portal 9, I mean.
Yeah, whatever says how that's recorded.
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you the rest?
Yeah.
So, this is being recorded, right?
Yes.
Okay. My wife, she's not a bad person. She's not. I mean, you know, I married her. I mean, I wouldn't marry her if she was physically abusive at the beginning. You can see my daughter, my JoJo, she's 6 years old. We took care of both of us for 6 years. Not one time did my wife, like, physically abuse her, you know, out of anger or anything like that. You know, we spanked her, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct her.
Yeah.
She did something wrong.
Yeah, but nothing like, you know, the bruises on her, you know, all over the place that you found on Ashley. My wife is a good person. I know it's very hard to believe, you know, think Ashley, but look at JoJo. Look at JoJo, you know, she's a good person. She's a good mother. She just has problems. She has problems with Ashley because when we got her, when she was born, we didn't raise her. My mom raised her.
Okay.
For 4 years, and then we got her back into her, so she's 5. We raised, I only saw my daughter for a year. You know, she's 5, so only 1/5 of her life, more or less. I saw her when she was like 1.5 or about 2. But both of us, we know my wife had this problem. In the beginning, when she started reacting like this to Ashley, not initially, not when she first came down, she was fine. I'll explain that too. But when she first started being like this to Ashley, I tried to step in and stop it.
When did that start?
When my mom started telling my wife that she was doing it wrong. She was raising Ashley wrong.
Okay, how long ago was that?
About 1 month after Ashley came here, my mom came here to visit. We told her to stay away because we know, my mom knows that my wife had issues with her, and you know, it needs some time with Ashley to adjust. And you know, we talked about this constantly, and that's why it's very fresh in my mind. But that's when it started. And when it started, it was not that big of a deal. But then my mom constantly, every which way. I know I sound like I'm placing blame, but I'm just telling you what happened.
Okay.
I know I sound like I'm placing blame from, you know, for my wife's condition, but I'm just telling you what happened. You know, that's at that one time. She came down, she visited, my wife let that go, that's fine. She was a little angered by that. She was a little pissed off about it. But then my wife would tell my aunt and my grandmother to tell my wife the same thing. You know, my mom would do that and tell people to constantly check up on Ashley, make sure that she's okay, stuff like that. And it would just go on forever. It was up to a point where we had to tell my mom, stop calling us. You know, don't send people here anymore. Tell grandma stop coming here. Because we've been here for 6 years. First couple of years, my grandma almost never comes. Nobody comes visit us. My mom never calls me, ever. Like, you can check my phone records, pick up as much phone records as you like. I don't talk a lot with my mom. But then, when Ashley got here, constantly calling, you're doing this wrong, stuff like that, yada, yada, yada. So, that kind of got to my wife. Because, it's your own daughter, and then there's your mother-in-law telling you that you're not doing it right. You're not doing it what you're supposed to do. That's one thing. And another thing is that you look at your own daughter, and you got her, she's 4, she's not potty trained. She doesn't know her last name. She doesn't know if she's a boy or a girl. I know you can't verify that, but if you want, I can tell you, you can put me back on the machine and I can tell you that I'm telling you the truth when I'm telling you these things. You can put me back on the machine, I can tell you that when I'm telling you these things that she's not potty trained, she doesn't know her last name, and she doesn't know if she was a boy or a girl when we got her when she was 4.
Oh, now he wants to talk about his mother-in-law. Now he wants to explain how the grandmother's criticism made Sheena spiral. Here's what he's not saying. That grandmother had raised Ashley for the first 4 years of her life. She kept that little girl alive and safe. And when the parents finally took her back, the child didn't know her own last name, didn't know if she was a boy or a girl. That's not evidence of the grandmother failing Ashley. That's evidence of what happened after Ashley left her care. He's blaming the one person who actually protected her.
And the list goes on and on with these things. And she knows she's a boy or girl because we taught her, and we taught her her last name. But initially when we got her, she didn't. And that combined with the fact that my mom keeps telling my wife, she's doing it wrong. And then we see how Ashley was actually raised. The combination of the two just made my wife really angry. And the more my wife sees Ashley being that way, not be able to potty train, it just get her angry. And I tell my wife, just stop, just let it be. And both myself and my wife, we knew that something like this would happen eventually if Ashley wasn't sent away. But we couldn't have sent her my mom because my mom will raise her like this again. So the plan was to send her to my wife's mom in China, and eventually I was just hoping that it wouldn't come to this before we sent her away. And it would give my wife some time to balance out.
Well, why did you give her to your mom anyway?
She was my mom.
No, I mean, why didn't you raise Ashley yourself?
Oh, I was running a restaurant. Couldn't really take care of everything, so I naturally could trust my mom, to raise my daughter. And initially I told her to come down. I told her to bring Ashley down so that I could see her grow up and I could develop a relationship with her, but my mom refused. For so long, we kept telling her, kept calling her, and, she gave it a try when Ashley was about 1.5. That's when I saw her 1.5, and then, she said she could live with me. So that's when she took Ashley away again. That's when I saw her again at 4.
How long has she been down there since she was 4?
5 years. She's 5 now. She just turned 5.
So
Not long ago.
when did the abuse start with your wife and Ashley?
About a little bit after a month after she arrived. In the beginning, it was not that bad. It was like discipline, trying to correct her, like you got a potty, the toilet, stuff like that, minor stuff. And the thing with Ashley was that she still doesn't know to potty in the bathroom. So that really gets my wife going because we have her for a year now. She still can't. She's still not potty trained.
So that was one of the things that really irritated your wife.
Yes, I mean, and then she was like everything that irritated my wife. My wife let go one after another. Okay, so she keep potting her, fine, let her go. You know, a couple of months, she's gonna be with my mom. I'll just buy diapers, take care of it, and hopefully she'll get away from me. She'll get a fresh start from my mom. You know, speak against my wife. And, you know, my mom will take care of her. Not my mom, my wife's mom. You know, my wife's mom will take care of her, and they'll have a fresh start, both of them. And my wife will have a fresh start. It's like, okay, just let that go. But then, you know, after she poops and potty on her diaper, she takes her diaper off. And that's what triggered that yesterday.
Well, okay, so when we were at your house yesterday, we asked, where do you sleep? Did Ashley sleep in the living room, or did she actually sleep in the other bedroom?
She sleeps in the living room because my wife, before it was different. Before it was, we had the 2 rooms. The kids used to sleep in the big room, and we used to sleep in the little room. And we used to keep the junk in the living room.
She still can't use the bathroom. That's what set his wife off. A 5-year-old who spent her first 4 years with her grandmother and only 12 months with her parents. And somehow the potty training failure is Ashley's fault. Here's the thing. Child development experts will tell you trauma and instability cause regression. Ashley wasn't failing to learn. Ashley was surviving. The abuse started within a month of her arrival. 1 month. That child never had a chance to feel safe enough to develop normally. And he's sitting there explaining it like she was defective merchandise.
Okay, and in the trunk of the rental car,
Yeah.
there was a big fuzzy bear.
Yeah.
Was there a reason for that? To be in the trunk, there was one at home.
Oh, no, there's no reason. No, there's no psychological reason. It was just that we bought one for the kids, and it was on sale at Sam's Club. It was initially like $14.88, and it was on sale for $4.71. So we just bought an extra one. Like, this could make a good gift, you know. It's cheap. So there's no reason for that thing.
I didn't know if they took it away from the house or whatever. You know, I just didn't know why.
No, there's no psychological reasons like, okay, Ashley's bear needs to stay in the trunk, and JoJo's bear needs to stay, nothing like that. Yeah.
So let's back up. After Jackson came out to the restaurant last night and you filed a report, what did you guys talk about after the police left?
We were worried. Same thing I told you earlier, you know, constantly looking over our shoulder, you know, like, and just, you know, this thing on your chest, and just, you want to not worry about that stuff, you know. And we were talking about it, like, worried constantly, okay, are they going to find her?
You want to be able to tell somebody what happened so you don't have that burden, right?
Yeah, and we just constantly worried, are they going to find her? You know, it's like, how would they do it to find her? And I told my wife, they find out, I told her everything.
What did your wife say about that?
Because my wife asked me what to do, and my wife, you know, I mean, she knows what we do. I mean, obviously we can't deny it. You know, that's just stupid. So, but...
Your wife told something to the other FBI agent, something about some black men coming into the...
Yeah, that she was trying to... That's true. That's true. The restaurant, or is it the apartment?
The restaurant.
That's true. It's all true. That's not a lie, but it's unrelated. It's unrelated. It's true, though. There was at a point, there's these 2 black guys who came to the restaurant twice, on 2 occasions, very separate apartment, a couple of months apart. And the only reason I remember them because they asked very unusual questions. We didn't think they were going to take our baby. We think they were going to rob us, like after a busy hour before we close. Because they asked us, how long are you busy for? When do you start being busy? What time do you close? And they asked the same questions the second time. And I think they changed their target because they probably thought, you know, we don't have much money here, it's not worth robbing. But that's the impression that I got. I was worried because they did that twice in like a span of a couple of months. You know, they came inside and asked, you know. And it was always like late at night when there's like no one around.
Getting back to the last night, you guys actually cooked and served meals while your daughter was laying there.
Yes.
And went on business as usual.
Yes.
And that was to keep JoJo from thinking anything bad was going on.
Yes.
That way, when she talked to us, she wouldn't lie to us about what she saw, or at least how she perceived it.
Yes. Is there anything else you would like to ask? And I'll answer everything.
Why didn't you ever report the abuse to law enforcement?
I was worried. Scared that I was going to take my wife away.
Abuse were we talking?
It's not like initially so bad. If it was initially so bad, I would probably report it, but just, it worked.
Escalated?
Yeah, and then at that point, I was like, she got so much bruises on her, I can't call it in anymore.
Well, would she twist her arm? Would she kick her? Would she hit her? What happened?
Well, pretty much all of it, twist her arm, kick her, hit her.
But never touch JoJo?
No, not once.
He didn't know if they took him into custody. He's worried about the giant teddy bear in the trunk looking suspicious. And then, unprompted, he brings up 2 black men who came into the restaurant months ago asking questions, completely unrelated to his daughter's death, by his own admission. But he wanted that on the record anyway. This is a man who watched his wife beat their child for a year and said nothing to law enforcement because he was scared she'd leave him. But strangers asking about business hours? That he remembered.
And not like, she just teased her and just pisses her off, push her down the stairs or something. It's always when Ashley does something, and that's her trigger, My mom tells my wife that she's raising kids wrong, and then every single time Ashley does something that reminds my wife of what my mom said, like, her doing something not a 5-year-old should do, that's pretty much triggered. It's like, Ashley would, it's weird, she would go like this, I'll show you, I don't have anyone to and we try to go to stand like normal, but before she would stand like this, I don't know why, I don't know where you get, I don't know what I don't know how Ashley did that, but my mom never corrected her that this is not how a person should stand. She would stand like this, on one feet, and the other one would heel up, and hands like this. We told her to put both feet down, both hands down. And she would just do that. Pretty much, we correct her, she would do it, correct her, and do it. She would do it. A lot of things. There's a lot of things that we felt that my mom had her for 4 years, that she should correct these things because they're not normal. So, every single time when Ashley would do something like that, it would trigger my wife because my wife would be reminded of what my mom said. I didn't report the abuse because I was afraid, the same thing that I'm afraid of now, that it was going to
split the family up.
Yes, I'm sorry. And we know this for a long time, that it was getting really bad, and we're going to send Ashley back to China with her mom, my wife's mom, and she would take care of her and give my wife some time to balance things out, and she wouldn't feel this inside of her head, inside of her heart. And, we were thinking maybe 2 years it would take, how long my wife needs, that's when we bring Ashley back. Whatever time my wife needs to make her not feel this way inside her head, inside her heart, that's this anger towards my mom that she's projecting onto Ashley, pretty much, whatever time she would need. But then, we wanted to send her right away. My wife would call her mom and says, screaming, she can't take this anymore. But her mom is taking care of her brother's kids, my wife's brother's kids. We were going to wait because her brother was going to send her kids back to the United States because they're born here and they're old enough to go to school now. He's working, doesn't have time to take care of his kids, so he sends them back to China. But mom take care of kids. We had to send them here, and the arrangement was going to be, not between, it was understood that when he comes back, she would go. So, but that wasn't going to happen until a little later. When I was trying to pull it down. And I didn't expect this to happen. You know, a couple of times you hit her head before on a carpet like that, and she comes out of it. This is the only time, obviously, this is the first time and the last time that she didn't.
How many times would you say she's done that to her?
4 maybe.
Does she ever have a doctor's visit that did they ever, you know,
No,
she was not bruised or?
we didn't think that the doctor, we were afraid because the doctor would see that, you know, she's bruised all over her body.
So she had that many bruises on her.
Yes.
The standing. He's upset about how Ashley would stand. A 5-year-old positioning her feet wrong was enough to trigger his wife into violence. And his solution? Send Ashley to China with her grandmother again. Not get his wife help. Not remove the child from danger. Ship her overseas until Sheena stopped feeling angry. This man watched beatings so severe, he admits they were afraid doctors would see bruises all over her body. He knew. He always knew. And his plan was to wait it out.
So this, I mean, it was a daily thing that...
Not daily. Not daily. A couple of times a week. Not every single day. Because believe it or not, my wife does try to control herself. Usually did it a bit daily. But there was periods where she tried to control herself a lot. And it will be like weeks before, you know. There will be periods, weeks. Literally weeks.
Did you ever tell her she needs to knock it off?
I tried that.
She needs to stop?
I tried that, and she knows. And she knows she needs to stop. And I tried, but in the beginning, it seems like the more I tried, it depends on the situation. Like if she's at that time where she's feeling that anger, and I tell her to stop, she gets even more angry.
This time, yesterday morning, this last time when she did it, what did your wife do after she hit her head on the floor?
She usually leaves, and then I go take care of her. But then, you know, as I mentioned, you know...
Did she leave this time?
Not like leave the apartment, but leave the living room.
Left the room. What'd she go do?
I don't know. I can't see. I was trying to take her of Ashley. She probably went into the bedroom or the bathroom. But then I started noticing that she was going off the screen stuff, so both of us took Ashley to the bathroom, took care of her.
Did she say anything when she started throwing up?
No, not that I recall.
Never made any comments while you guys were cleaning her up and getting her dressed?
I'm going to try to remember. I'm going to try to be honest. I can't, but right now I can't remember. Okay? So I'm trying to be honest. I can't with you guys.
No,
right
I
now.
appreciate it.
Comments while she was going to the bathroom. I know she said something, but usually I don't listen to that kind of stuff. So I kind of tune it out for me to remember
Is it kind
that.
of negative? Is that what I mean?
Yes.
Negative towards Ashley?
I have no idea at the point because usually at that point I just tune out. So it could have been negative, it could have been neutral, but it's definitely not positive. Is it okay for me to ask a couple of questions, or you guys would be able to answer it? It's pretty much the same questions I tried to ask before. Would you be able to answer them? No? Oh, okay.
Just go ahead. I don't know what, I can't read your mind. I don't know what questions you're asking.
It's pretty much about the future. I know you can't tell the future, but being in law enforcement, I was hoping that maybe you can answer some of these questions for me.
We can try.
Okay. Do you know what's going to happen to my wife? I mean, I understand she's going to get locked up, but is it like a regular jail, or she's going to get like institutionalized?
Well, it'll be regular jail.
I mean,
right now.
she'll just go to the regular jail.
It has to go through court and everything.
I think she needs some help. I think she needs some help.
Well, that'll be between her and her attorney and the judges. That's not for us to decide.
Yeah. And you guys know how long I'm going to get locked up for? Approximately.
I don't know.
3 years? 3 years?
I don't know.
Are we talking like decades or years?
I can't be honest with you. I'm not sure. We need to talk to our prosecutor, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Okay, so what we're gonna do,
Do I have a choice on how JoJo is raised? Raised, I can have her in foster care instead of raised by my parents.
you don't want your family to come get her?
No, I don't want her to be raised by my parents.
Do you have any family close? No family at all? You want?
They're close, but I don't want them. I'm not close to my dad.
Well, they'll probably go see Child Protective Services right now, and that'll all be worked out later, and they will talk to you, you know.
There's two people that possibly, but they don't know her. They saw her maybe like 2 times since she was born.
Are they relatives?
My sisters. They're okay people, but I still don't trust them. One of them I do, just that my mom's going to get so much access to her. I don't want that.
Well, then, I mean, and I'm sure CPS will talk to you about it, because, you know.
Because I don't want JoJo. I mean, I know she's sick now. She's going to be probably not going to get affected by my mom like that, but still, I don't want my mom.
A couple times a week. That's what he just said. His wife was slamming their daughter's head into the floor a couple times a week, and he's framing that like restraint. Like she deserves credit for the weeks she didn't assault a kindergartner. And now that Ashley is dead, his first concern is logistics. Will his wife go to regular jail or get institutionalized? How long will he be locked up? Can he keep his own mother away from custody decisions? This man watched his child vomit after a head injury and tuned out the commentary because it was negative. He's still tuning out. He never stopped.
Do you have any intentions of hurting yourself?
No, I mean, I thought about it earlier. It's like, if I can't say anything, you know, but I already told everything to him. So, I mean, I wanted to say it.
Don't you feel, I mean, you kind of feel that, don't you?
I was thinking the same thing, like, if I just not be able to talk, I wouldn't feel that anymore either.
So you're not thinking about hurting yourself right now?
Not at the moment. Not at the moment, I swear.
Okay. And then you say not at the moment,
But kind of,
it leads me to believe that you may later.
I don't know. I have to sort things out in my head.
Okay. All right. Stand up. I want to make sure you don't have any weapons or anything on you.
I patted him down and got a pocket knife earlier, but
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sunglasses. Inside there's keys, clothes. And here there's keys. Probably my wallet and stuff like that. I took it out when I was talking to Randy.
There it is. The mask slipping just enough to show what's underneath. He's hinting at self-harm now, and the detective has to pat him down for weapons. But here's what's telling. He's not expressing guilt about Ashley. He's expressing discomfort about having to talk. The confession itself is the burden. Not watching his daughter die. Not the year of silence while his wife beat her. The inconvenience of finally having to say it out loud. That's what he can't live with. The talking, not the truth behind it.
Not that she's a bad person, it's just what happened with Ashley. I'm very afraid that she's going to raise JoJo the same way.
what's your wife's name again?
Maybe. M-I-N-G. I know I'd rather ask you this, but I might to be able to see my daughter and my wife before I go to jail.
I'm sorry, because she's probably going to be both your wife is, and we can't bring your daughter here. It wouldn't be fair to her to see you like this.
That's why I told her I'm supposed to meet them before I tell them everything. you know what's happening to my wife right now?
No, I haven't heard from him.
In jail, or am I going to be allowed to take care of my personal stuff? As I mentioned, you can send someone to watch me if you want to make sure that I don't kill myself or something. But am I going to be allowed to take care of my personal stuff?
No, actually, your both personal places are crime scene right now. Because the killing her in the apartment and taking her then to, they're both a crime scene, so you wouldn't be allowed in them anyway.
Alright, we're gonna switch rooms. Walk over here.
I need to take that chair.
No, I'll get it later. Just shut that light out.
And just like that, he's asking about his wife, wanting to see her, wanting to say goodbye. Not to Ashley, to Sheena, the woman who beat his daughter to death. That's who he needs closure with. That's who deserves his final moments of freedom. He's worried about JoJo now, about whether Sheena will raise her the same way she raised Ashley. And here's the thing. That's not concern for JoJo. That's the first time in this entire interrogation he's acknowledged out loud that his wife was dangerous. He knew. He always knew. And he's only saying it now because it might help his case. The detective tells him his home and the restaurant are both crime scenes. He won't be going back to either. And you can see it register. Not grief, inconvenience. The life he built around looking the other way is now physically inaccessible to him. The walls he hid behind are evidence now. But I need to stop talking about him. Because this was never his story. This was Ashley's story. A 5-year-old girl who spent the first 4 years of her life safe with her grandmother, who was then returned to parents who saw her as a burden, who was beaten for how she stood, for how she used the bathroom, for existing in a way that inconvenienced the people who were supposed to protect her. She never got to start kindergarten. She never got to make a best friend. She never got to be anything other than a problem her parents needed to manage and eventually dispose of. Sheena Zhao is serving life for murder. The father received a reduced sentence for his role in the cover-up. And in the years since Ashley's death, the community has held vigils and pushed for stronger child protection laws. There are conversations happening right now about potential parole for the father, petitions circulating to make sure that doesn't happen. But none of that brings her back. What this case exposed wasn't just 2 terrible parents. It exposed every system that failed to catch what was happening. Child Protective Services had previous reports. Warning signs existed. And Ashley still ended up back in that home. If there's anything we take from this, it's that community vigilance isn't optional. It's not someone else's job. The signs Ashley's neighbors might have seen, the questions a teacher might have asked, those moments matter. Those moments are sometimes the only thing standing between a child and the people who are supposed to love them. Ashley Zhao deserved better than the 5 years she got. She deserved a childhood. She deserved to grow up. She deserved parents who saw her as a daughter instead of an obstacle. She didn't get any of that. But we can make sure her story means something beyond the tragedy itself. If you want to see another case where the evidence spoke louder than any confession ever could, there's a case I covered where an 18-year-old killer didn't realize his victim's phone was recording the entire time. The footage captured everything. I'll leave that one linked for you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring enough to sit through something this difficult. And if you're in a position to look out for a child who might not have anyone else doing it, please do. Ashley needed someone. Don't let the next one slip through.